Well, let's bring in our very special guest now to talk about some of these issues. Dan Fitzpatrick, who's the author of the AI Classroom. He's also the founder of AIeducator.io, one of the people who's really been using AI to teach people. And he believes that AI can work with humans, and if you learn to use things like ChatGPT, you will actually get very, very far. Dan, I don't know if you've really had a chance to play around too much with Bing Chat so far, or found Sydney, or done any of that, experienced any of that creepy stuff which has been happening.
I have. I've had a go of it and kind of compared it to Bing, and then what we know about Google's version as well that's coming, Bard. So yeah, I've had to play around with a few of them and using them and training teachers and businesses on how to utilize this technology.
Dan, when you look at some of the creepy stuff that has been therefore happening with Sydney and with Bing Chat in the last couple of weeks, how alarmed are you by all of that? Do you think this is just a big language, large language model and essentially autocomplete on steroids, and that's what's happening? There's nothing nothing particularly creepy there. It's not that there's some sentience there or something conscious or alive in any way. What is your own sense of what we've been seeing?
I think it's very early days with this technology, and just like I think I compare it with kind of the mid-90s of the internet. So when the internet first came and people were getting used to it in the mid-90s, there was lots of things that people were discovering about it, things that weren't ideal, but because the users were using it over a number of months and years, then the developers, the people who were creating this technology, got better at packaging it into a user-friendly experience. And I think that's what's happening here. We're in a bit of a paradox, because for this technology to get better, the public have to use it. So they're going to see it kind of warts and all the bad things about it as well as the good things, so that these companies can actually hone it and make it a usable product for the rest of the world.
I get, Dan, one of the big questions that everyone's been dealing with is that, this is something which could be improving itself very fast. And if you don't have guardrails around it and you don't have some security, a potential risk that people have been warning about for a long period of time, if this thing starts to teach itself and become really good at it, and it's connected to the internet and has other potential resources, you could get to a situation where it becomes way more intelligent than humans are, and therefore that's where it could pose a risk, an existential threat to humanity. Do you believe any of that is feasible?
Yeah, I know. I don't know about you, but when I play with it, I think it's already smarter than me. So I think we're probably already there to a certain extent. It's interesting because the old head of engineering at Google, Ray Kurzweil, he said that we'll reach a point called the singularity, probably in about the year 2045, although I believe he's re-estimating that to be a bit sooner now because of this technology. And he said that's when we'll get to a point where the intelligence of AI will be vastly superior to pretty much every human on Earth. And I think when we get to that point, we have to know how to utilize it for good. And I think there's a certain amount of intention that has to come with this technology. So whereas in the past, technology gets released and we just go, right, well, let's see where it goes. And then governments act slowly to kind of safeguard people from them. I think we very quickly have to learn the lessons from the technological advancements over the last few decades, and governments need to get ahead of the game and start safeguarding this for the public. I think when it gets to that point, like you were saying, Vikram, about having such super intelligence, I think it's the benefits there will far outweigh the negatives. We're going to see this transform our society for the better.
Well, I'm sure you're experiencing lots of kids out there sort of saying, hey, this is wonderful. I never have to do homework ever again. ChatGPT is there to help me.
Yeah, it's going to change it. And I think for the better. The education system or the education systems around the world have largely avoided disruption for the last few hundred years. I mean, the internet came along, but actually, if you look at most schools allow the internet to a certain degree only to uphold the current way of doing things. This will disrupt it all, I think, because what the skills that we teach students, if an AI machine can do them, which employer is going to want that student to come and work for them eventually if they can get an AI machine to do it cheaper, more efficiently, with a lot more intelligence? So we're going to have to rethink what have humans got to bring to the table if this technology can do a lot of the things that we do in our jobs already. And I think a large, you hear this word a lot around AI at the minute, is empathy. AI can't, and it goes back to what we were just saying about understanding, and I suppose true empathy has to start with understanding. And if machines can't understand truly, then can they empathize? They might be able to give a guise of being able to empathize, but actually true empathy, I think, is a human skill. So how do we build the human skills out? I think that's where education has to look. Also, some of the things with education, we still need them. Literacy, in order to speak to these AI machines and utilize them and collaborate with them, we need to be able to phrase the question in a good way. We need to be able to have a dialogue with these machines. We need to be able to evaluate what's coming out of them. So I think the education system will have to shift. It will have to shift to more skills-based learning. And how to collaborate with AI. I think we're seeing across the world at the minute some schools getting scared, burying their heads in the sand. I think New York schools banned it. A lot of Australian schools are banning it at the moment. And I think all they're going to do is widen the digital gap. So COVID kind of showed up a huge digital gap across the world, didn't it, in terms of what students access to technology and students who don't have access. If schools actively ban this, they're just going to widen that gap for their students. Their students are going to leave their school and not have the relevant skills to live in this AI revolution, to live in and work in this new era. So schools have got a part to play here, and schools, instead of playing the victim, need to get active in this, need to go, right, you know what, this isn't just coming for education. Schools can get on board with this and revolutionize education in a positive way.
Well, I think one thing is absolutely clear, Dan, whoever you are, wherever you are, whether you believe in the scary aspects of AI or whether you're just saying, look, it's a tool that will help humans like other tools have done, I certainly agree with you that everyone needs to know about it, and certainly every kid needs to be educated in what AI can potentially do. Thank you so much for joining us, Dan. Thank you.